Elena stood at the edge of the sprawling rainforest, her heart racing with anticipation. The canopy above was a thick tapestry of green, filtering sunlight into shimmering patterns on the forest floor. As a dedicated archaeologist, she had spent years dreaming of this moment, setting foot in a place where ancient civilizations once thrived. Now hidden beneath layers of foliage and time, she adjusted her wide-brimmed hat, brushing a stray curl from her forehead, and took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of damp soil and rich vegetation. This expedition promised to be unlike any other. Whispers of lost cities and buried treasures had drawn her here, but it was more than mere professional curiosity that fueled her passion. Elena believed deeply that understanding these ruins could illuminate not only the past but also the shared human experience. With a notebook clutched in one hand and her well-worn camera slung around her neck, she felt ready to document every detail. Each stone carved with intricate designs told a story waiting to be uncovered. Her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. A labyrinth of ancient temples cradled by vines and shadows, perhaps even remnants of rituals long forgotten. As she gathered her gear and joined her team at the makeshift camp, Elena glanced at their excited faces. They mirrored her own enthusiasm. Each member brought unique skills to the expedition. Historians, botanists, and local guides who knew the land intimately. Their diverse backgrounds created a dynamic atmosphere filled with chatter and laughter. Yet beneath it all lay an undercurrent of seriousness. This journey held the potential for groundbreaking discoveries. Little did they know that as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, ancient forces stirred in response to their presence, setting the stage for an encounter that would challenge everything Elena believed about history and humanity's place within it. As the sun filtered through the thick canopy, Elena gathered her team around the campfire for a final briefing before they plunged into the depths of the jungle. Each member brought their own unique skills and motivations, contributing to the rich tapestry of expertise that would aid in their mission. Among them was Marco, a botanist with an insatiable curiosity about medicinal plants, whose knowledge of flora would be vital in navigating the rainforest's biodiversity. His infectious enthusiasm often lifted spirits when fatigue set in. Next was Lena, a historian specializing in ancient civilizations, whose deep understanding of local cultures would provide crucial context for their discoveries. With her keen eye for detail, she was eager to connect each artifact they unearthed to its rightful place in history, weaving together narratives long forgotten. Then there were the local guides, Miguel and Rosa, who understood the whispers of the forest. They knew how to read the subtle signs left by wildlife and could navigate even the most treacherous paths with ease. Their familiarity with both terrain and tradition enriched the expedition. They often recounted stories passed down through generations about sacred sites and ancient rituals that echoed through the trees. Yet beneath their excitement lay an awareness of the challenges that awaited them. Dense foliage that threatened to obscure their path, unpredictable weather patterns that could unleash torrential rains at any moment, and wildlife that ranged from harmless to potentially dangerous. The jungle held secrets, but it also demanded respect. As they embarked on their journey deeper into the heart of the rainforest, Elena felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. This expedition promised adventure, but it also carried an unspoken weight, the knowledge that they were stepping into a realm where history and myth intertwined, paving the way for revelations that might transcend their understanding of time itself. As the team ventured deeper into the rainforest, the air thickened with humidity, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Towering trees loomed overhead, their trunks gnarled and ancient, adorned with vibrant moss and lichen that glistened in the dappled sunlight. Sunbeams pierced through the leaves, creating ethereal patches of light that danced on the forest floor, revealing a carpet of ferns, orchids, and flowering plants all vying for attention. Each step brought new colors and textures, from the brilliant red of a bromeliad to the delicate white blooms of a rare orchid, showcasing nature's artistry. However, this paradise came with its share of perils. The jungle buzzed with life. The calls of exotic birds echoed above, while insects hummed and flitted past them. Elena marveled at the sight of a scarlet macaw soaring through the canopy, its vibrant feathers a stark contrast against the deep greens. Yet, lurking in the shadows were other creatures, snakes coiled beneath fallen leaves and spiders weaving intricate webs between branches. The team was acutely aware that beauty often concealed danger. The weather added an unpredictable layer to their journey. One moment, they basked in warm sunlight. The next, thunder rumbled ominously overhead. Dark clouds would sweep in quickly, releasing torrents of rain that transformed paths into muddy rivers and sent them scrambling for shelter under the dense foliage. This constant shift kept everyone on their toes, testing their resolve as they navigated both beauty and threats in equal measure. Elena felt a thrill course through her. The rainforest was alive, teeming with stories waiting to be uncovered. Each rustling leaf and distant animal call hinted at secrets buried deep within its vibrant heart. As she led her team further into this breathtaking yet treacherous realm, she understood that they were not just observers. They were intruders in a world where every step could lead to wonder or to danger. After several days of trekking through the dense foliage, the team stumbled upon a clearing that took their breath away. There, partially reclaimed by nature, stood the remnants of an ancient city, its stone structures rising defiantly against the surrounding greenery. Elena felt a rush of exhilaration as she surveyed the site. The architecture was unlike anything she had encountered before, with intricately carved columns and crumbling walls adorned with faded murals depicting vibrant scenes of daily life, rituals, and celestial bodies. The primary structure was a grand temple, its once majestic entrance framed by stone sculptures of mythical creatures, their features softened by centuries of moss and creeping vines. Elena could almost feel the weight of history pressing down upon her as she imagined priests and worshippers gathering here, their voices echoing in reverence. The carvings seemed to tell stories that transcended time, capturing profound connections between the people and their gods. As the team explored further, they unearthed artifacts scattered around the site. Beautifully crafted pottery decorated with intricate designs, tools made from obsidian, and shards of what might have been ceremonial masks. Each artifact hinted at a complex society that thrived on agriculture, trade, and artistry. Marco examined a piece of pottery closely, noting the unique glaze and suggesting it was used for religious ceremonies. Lena eagerly documented every detail, her mind racing with ideas about the civilization's social structure and cultural practices. Elena knelt beside a weathered stone altar, covered in offerings of small stones and flowers that had been left by those who visited long after the city's inhabitants had vanished. She felt a profound sense of connection to these people, a deep understanding that their lives were woven into the fabric of the forest itself. This discovery was not just an archaeological triumph. It was a reminder of humanity's enduring spirit and the mysteries hidden within the jungle's embrace. As they cataloged their findings, Elena sensed that they were on the brink of uncovering something monumental, yet she couldn't shake an unsettling feeling, an awareness that this ancient place might hold more than just relics of the past. Elena wasted no time diving into her meticulous cataloging process, as she believed that every detail mattered in piecing together the dynamic history of the site. Armed with her trusty notebook and a set of well-sharpened pencils, she began recording the architectural features of the ruins, sketching the grand temple's intricacies and the delicate carvings that graced its facades. Each line she drew was a careful representation of what she saw, an attempt to capture the essence of a civilization long vanished. The heat and humidity of the rainforest intensified, making it challenging to concentrate. Beads of sweat trickled down her brow, but she pressed on, determined to document her findings accurately. While sketching, she often paused to observe the play of light filtering through the treetops onto the ancient stones, noting how it revealed hidden textures and patterns that might be lost in shadows. With each artifact they uncovered, Elena developed a systematic method for cataloging their significance. Pottery fragments were labeled meticulously, detailing their size, ornamentation, and possible historical context. From her experience and with Marco's input regarding plant remains that hinted at agricultural practices, she drew connections between their findings and the broader tapestry of the civilization's lifestyle. Occasionally, she would collect samples of soil or organic material from the site, carefully sealing each in labeled bags for later analysis. The drop of rain that fell sporadically added urgency to her work. Sudden downpours could erase traces from their discoveries, or wash away notes she hadn't secured yet. As evening approached, she stood back to review her work, a growing collection of sketches and notes reflecting their discoveries. Battling fatigue and unpredictable elements, Elena felt a sense of satisfaction and purpose. This was more than documentation. It was a preservation of history, ensuring that every story woven within this forgotten city would be shared with the world once again. Yet, beneath her excitement loomed a quiet tension. She sensed they were still not alone in this mystical place filled with secrets waiting to be unraveled. As the days passed, a simmering tension began to surface among the team. What had started as an enthusiastic collaboration slowly morphed into disagreements over how to proceed with the excavation and preservation of the site. Elena found herself caught in the middle, trying to mediate between her team members who each had strong opinions about the best course of action. Marco argued passionately for a more thorough excavation of every artifact they uncovered, believing that the more they unearthed, the clearer their understanding of the civilization would be. "We can't just scrape by," he insisted, his voice rising over the cacophony of the rainforest. "Every piece tells a story. We owe it to them to uncover as much as we can." In contrast, Lena urged caution. She emphasized the importance of context and preservation, advocating for a careful documentation process rather than aggressive digging. "What if we destroy something important?" she countered, her brow furrowed with concern. "We need to protect what remains here, not just for us but for future generations." The atmosphere grew charged as differing perspectives clashed. Miguel and Rosa, their local guides, watched quietly from the sidelines, sensing that underlying cultural beliefs might be overlooked in favor of scientific curiosity. They exchanged glances laden with unspoken concerns, knowing that some ancient practices demanded respect and reverence. Elena felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her as she tried to navigate these conflicting views. The rainforest seemed to echo with their disputes, its ancient trees witnessing their struggle just as they had witnessed countless generations before. Each evening meeting became a battleground of ideas rather than a collaborative space. As tensions flared and arguments erupted, a sense of urgency filled Elena's heart. She understood that their mission was not just about unearthing artifacts. It was also about honoring the stories of those who came before them. As she looked around at her team, each member driven by passion yet growing increasingly divided, she realized that unity was essential if they were to truly unlock the secrets of this mystical place and tread lightly upon its sacred ground. As the team settled around the campfire one evening, the air grew thick with tension and an unspoken unease. Elena sensed that the discussions about their excavation plans were weighing heavily on everyone. To lighten the mood and shift their focus, she suggested they share local legends they had heard from the guides. Miguel leaned forward, his expression serious as he began recounting the myth of the Feathered Serpent, a legendary creature revered by the ancient inhabitants of the region. He spoke of how the serpent, with its brilliant plumage and wise eyes, was said to guard hidden treasures buried deep within the jungle, treasures that included not only gold and jewels but also knowledge and sacred artifacts. "The Feathered Serpent punishes those who disturb sacred grounds," Miguel warned, his voice low. "Many have ventured into the forest seeking riches, only to vanish without a trace. It is believed that the serpent watches over this land, ready to unleash its wrath on anyone who shows disrespect to the spirits of those who came before us." Rosa chimed in, adding that locals often left offerings at the temple site to appease the guardian spirit. "They believe that if you show reverence, you may be granted wisdom instead of misfortune," she said, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames. The stories wrapped around Elena like a blanket, igniting both fear and fascination within her. She couldn't help but wonder if these myths were merely tales meant to instill caution or if they held a deeper truth. As she glanced at her team, she felt a renewed sense of urgency to tread carefully. The weight of ancient beliefs loomed over them as they delved into this sacred space. With each passing day, Elena realized that their excavation was not just about uncovering physical remnants of a lost civilization, but also about understanding and respecting the powerful myths that intertwined with the land itself. The Feathered Serpent's legacy was a reminder that history is not merely a collection of artifacts. It is a living narrative woven into the very fabric of the rainforest, guarded by forces far beyond their comprehension. The following morning dawned bright and humid, but ominous clouds began rolling in by mid-afternoon, casting a shadow over the ancient ruins. Elena and her team were engrossed in their work when the first drops of rain splattered against the leaves overhead, a soft patter that quickly escalated into a torrential downpour. The storm hit with an intensity that startled them, nature's fury echoing through the trees as thunder rumbled ominously. "Get to cover!" Elena shouted, her voice barely cutting through the roar of the wind and rain. The team scrambled to gather their tools and secure the artifacts they had painstakingly catalogued. Marco dashed towards the shelter of a nearby overhang, cradling a collection of fragile pottery fragments in his arms. Lena fought against the wind to salvage her notes, her eyes wide with panic. As sheets of rain drenched the clearing, visibility dropped, and Elena felt her heart race. The ground beneath them quickly turned to mud. Slipping and sliding around the site became a chaotic dance as they struggled not only against the elements but also to protect their findings. The once tranquil jungle transformed into a raging environment filled with howling winds and crashing branches. "Watch out!" Miguel yelled as a heavy branch snapped from a tree above, narrowly missing Rosa as she ducked for safety. In that moment of chaos, time seemed to stretch. The urgency was palpable as they fought their way through swirling puddles and flailing limbs of foliage. Elena rallied her team under the remnants of the temple's stone archway, where they could momentarily shield themselves from the deluge. Their findings clutched protectively against their chests, priceless pieces of history threatened by nature's wrath. They exchanged worried glances filled with uncertainty. As she watched droplets cascade off ancient stones carved by hands long gone, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this storm was a warning, a testament to the power of both nature and the sacred ground they had chosen to tread upon. Each thunderclap seemed to resonate with Miguel's tales of the Feathered Serpent, echoing through her mind. Perhaps there were forces at play beyond their understanding that demanded respect for this forgotten world. In the days following the storm, unsettling occurrences began to plague the expedition. It started subtly, strange rustlings in the underbrush that sent shivers down their spines, whispers of wind that seemed to carry voices, and shadows flitting just out of sight. Elena tried to dismiss them as mere tricks of the rainforest, but her team's growing anxiety was palpable. One evening, as they gathered around the fire, Lena recounted an eerie experience from earlier that day. "I swear I saw something watching us from behind the trees," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It had iridescent feathers, like those described in the legends." The group fell silent, exchanging nervous glances. Marco scoffed, attempting to lighten the mood. "Come on, Lena, you're letting those stories get to you." But that night, while taking her turn on watch duty, Elena felt it too. A prickling sensation at the back of her neck, as if unseen eyes were scrutinizing her every move. She glanced into the dense foliage surrounding their camp and thought she glimpsed a flash of color between the leaves, a fleeting glimpse of something that sent her heart racing. As days passed, other strange events occurred. Tools went missing only to reappear in odd places, and unexplained markings appeared in the mud near their excavation site. One morning, they discovered a small offering of flowers arranged carefully on a stone altar at the temple's base. An act of reverence or perhaps a warning? Elena's thoughts turned again to the Feathered Serpent. The tales spun by Miguel now loomed larger than ever in her mind. Could these occurrences be manifestations of its presence? An unsettling realization began to dawn on her. Their excavation might have awakened forces that should have remained undisturbed. The weight of ancient beliefs pressed heavily upon them as they navigated this world filled with both wonder and trepidation. The jungles held more than artifacts. They guarded secrets intertwined with stories of caution and reverence. As they prepared to continue their work amidst growing fears and strange phenomena, Elena knew they must tread carefully, both for their safety and for the respect owed to those who had come before them. As the days wore on, Elena found herself increasingly torn between her scientific curiosity and the respect she felt for the local beliefs surrounding the excavation site. Each passing moment heightened her internal conflict. The strange occurrences, whispers in the wind, shadows flitting at the edge of her vision, stirred a deep unease within her, forcing her to confront the possibility that they had provoked forces beyond their understanding. While she was driven to uncover the historical mysteries embedded within the ruins, she began to question whether her ambition was worth the risk of angering the Feathered Serpent. The legends spun by Miguel echoed in her mind, warning of dire consequences for those who disrespected sacred grounds. Had she and her team become the intruders they had read about in local lore? Elena often stood alone among the ancient stones, skimming her fingers over intricate carvings as if seeking answers from the past. She imagined how these ruins once echoed with life and ritual, a world steeped in beliefs that connected its people to nature and each other. The thought made her heart ache. These weren't just remnants but fragments of a rich cultural tapestry that deserved reverence. Yet the thrill of discovery beckoned to her. The artifacts they uncovered held stories waiting to be told, insights into a civilization that had thrived for centuries. How could she balance her desire to reveal those stories with an ethical responsibility to honor this sacred space? Each night, as she lay in her tent listening to the sounds of the rainforest, she wrestled with these questions. Ultimately, Elena understood that she must find a way to harmonize her passion for archaeology with an acknowledgement of the profound respect owed to the land and its ancient guardians. If they were to proceed, it would require not just careful planning but an openness to learning from both history and myth, bridging the gap between science and spirituality in a delicate dance that embraced both knowledge and reverence. Just when Elena thought the worst was behind them, nature unleashed its fury once more. A rumble echoed through the jungle, louder and more ominous than before, as dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The team worked quickly to secure their findings, but they could feel a charged energy in the air, a warning that something catastrophic was about to happen. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. Before anyone could react, an earthquake shook the camp violently, sending tools flying and sending Elena stumbling to the ground. Panic erupted as the trees swayed dangerously overhead, branches snapping and crashing to the forest floor. In the chaos, Lena screamed as a nearby tree fell towards their shelter, narrowly missing her but burying several artifacts beneath its massive weight. "Get everything you can. We need to leave," Elena shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of nature's wrath. Marco, his face pale with fear, nodded and raced to save the fragile pottery he had lovingly catalogued while Rosa and Miguel focused on clearing debris from the altar site. As they scrambled to gather what they could, the reality of their situation set in. The excavation was in disarray. Their camp was a tangled mess of equipment and lost research notes. Elena caught sight of the temple, which appeared unharmed for the moment but felt as if it were beckoning them deeper into danger. Would their determination to uncover its secrets ultimately lead to their undoing? With the storm still raging, Elena felt the weight of her decision pressing heavily on her heart. They could either abandon their findings and retreat to safety or push forward amidst the chaos and risk further calamity. The fear of what lay ahead clashed with her drive to explore this extraordinary site. "Gather everyone," Elena called out urgently as she took charge. "We need to make a decision now. Are we leaving everything behind? Or do we stay and see what else this place has to reveal?" The storm's roar drowned out any immediate response as fear gripped her team. In that moment of uncertainty, Elena realized that whatever path they chose would define not just their expedition but their understanding of history, and perhaps even their very survival. As the expedition came to a close, Elena stood once more before the ancient temple, its grandeur still awe-inspiring despite the chaos they had endured. The remnants of their unearthed findings lay carefully packed for transport, but it was the deeper understanding she had gained that resonated most profoundly within her. This journey had become about far more than cataloging artifacts. It had evolved into an exploration of humanity's intricate connection with nature and tradition. In the quiet moments after the storm, Elena found herself contemplating the lessons embedded in the very soil they walked upon. It wasn't just the intricate carvings or the fragile pottery that held significance. It was the stories behind them, stories of a civilization that thrived in harmony with its environment, respecting the spirits of their ancestors and the land they inhabited. She thought of Miguel's tales and how they mirrored her experiences, weaving a narrative that was both timeless and universal. Elena remembered the fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures and whispers in the wind, reflections of a world where myth and reality intertwined. Those moments had ignited her scientific curiosity, but also reminded her of the weighty responsibility that accompanied such exploration. The Feathered Serpent was not merely a legend. It represented a belief system deeply rooted in reverence for nature, a lesson she would carry with her long after leaving this sacred space. As she prepared to leave, Elena felt gratitude swell within her. They had not only uncovered artifacts but had also unearthed a shared understanding of humanity's place in the world, a reminder that knowledge must be balanced with respect. This journey taught her that exploration of history could coexist with honoring traditions and beliefs, fostering a relationship with both past and present. With one last look at the temple, Elena made a silent promise to honor what she had learned. As they trekked back through the rainforest, she felt a sense of closure and hope, knowing that their discoveries would contribute not just to academia, but to a greater appreciation for the sacredness of life and nature's enduring legacy. As Elena prepared to leave the rainforest, she took one last look at the ancient temple, its stones still whispering secrets of a time long past. The expedition had forever altered her understanding of archaeology and her role within it. Reflecting on the myths they had encountered, particularly those surrounding the Feathered Serpent, she recognized an enduring truth. Their journey was not just a quest for knowledge but a delicate dance with history and tradition. The legends spoke of respect and reverence for the land, values that had guided the civilization that once thrived there. Elena felt a profound sense of responsibility. Their intrusion into this sacred space was not without consequence. The strange occurrences they had faced, the eerie shadows, the fleeting whispers, served as reminders that they were guests in a world rich with stories and ancient forces. This realization would shape her future work as an archaeologist. She understood now that every discovery came with an obligation to honor and protect what remained. Fieldwork was not solely about unearthing artifacts or piecing together histories. It was also about fostering relationships with local communities and respecting their beliefs. The essence of archaeology lay in bridging knowledge with cultural context, creating narratives that included both past civilizations and present traditions. Elena decided that moving forward, she would approach her research with greater humility and mindfulness, integrating local perspectives into her studies. As they hiked back through the rugged jungle paths, she felt a renewed purpose swell within her, a commitment to ensure that future explorations would not repeat past mistakes, but instead pave the way for understanding and collaboration. She gazed up at the canopy filtering sunlight through leaves, feeling connected to both the ancient spirits watching over the land and to those who would come after her. In honoring their stories, she hoped to contribute not only to the field of archaeology, but to a deeper appreciation for humanity's intricate relationship with nature and tradition, one that resonated across time and cultures, reminding everyone of their shared legacy on this planet.